let me just introduce myself, and I'm Karthik, as you might be knowing already, some of you. So, I have overall, the 11 years of experience predominantly onto the business intelligence, right? In implementing the ETL solutions end to end, and also basically worked on some of the BI tools like a Tableau, and then the OBIE, OBIA, so all these things, right? Um, right. Okay. Right. So these are all the basically I mean, that's about myself, and I've been taking the classes from last, you could say last 4 or 5 years, and especially on the Informatica data modeling, and also SQL, PLSQL, and ETL testing. So these are the few things that which I take care of. Yeah. So I mean, let's get started. So this is more about the introduction session, to understand you guys and what is your expectation. And I will try to give you what we are going to cover as part of a training from the Tek Classes point of view, and how many hours it is going to take and everything. So I hope everyone would have received the complete syllabus copy from the Dhiru. So we're going to go through the same set of a syllabus what is already being listed in our, what is already being listed here. Yes, please.
Hello?
Yeah.
There is some background noise. Can you please check if there is an issue?
No, I actually muted everyone except me and you. There is no one speaking. I'm not really sure. Where is it coming up from? Okay. Do you hear a keyboard and mouse or a mouse thing, or what noise you hear? I'm not very sure. I am from a very close room. Is it an echo? Yeah, you have actually joined from the two different laptops. I'm not very sure. So I mean, two different connections I can see on your name. So basically, if you can probably come out of one, that would be good. Okay, I'm not very sure. So others also hear the background noise, or is it only Alok who is hearing it? So do you also have a problem? No, right? Okay. So it seems everyone is good. Alok, probably there's a problem at your end. So try fixing it. Thank you. So let me just go ahead and then give you what we're going to cover as part of a training. And let me give you the prerequisite as well. In basically, so prerequisite for learning the Informatica PowerCenter and all that stuff. So we'll talk about it. So see, the prerequisite for learning the Informatica developer course, right? You must be having the the relational database management concepts. That is your RDBMS concepts. You need to understand what is a table and what is a primary key, foreign key, and all that, the simple concepts, and what is a relationship, one-to-one relationship, one-to-many relationship. So all these things you need to know. And along with that, if you actually have a knowledge about some of the databases, like let's say Oracle, or maybe maybe any one database. It is not necessarily that you need to be a punter in all the databases. Any one of the database, or having a database knowledge on multiple databases, an advantage thing. Oracle, SQL Server, or Teradata. Basically, your data warehouse is something that which is going to be built on any kind of a database. That's one, Netezza, etc. Any one of the database, either it is a DB2 or predominantly these are the these are used. Okay. So you must know about the SQL. See, SQL is very, very important to learn the Informatica PowerCenter, or to learn any of the Informatica products, I would say. This is very important. And basically, in SQL, you must know joins, right? You must know how to, subqueries, basically subqueries, and all the functions as well. All the functions, whatever functions, because some of the functions will be same as Informatica, so single row functions. And then you need to know the group functions, basically the average, minimum, maximum, and all that. And then the DDL commands, DML commands, and if you know, it would be easier. But basically, like views and materialized views, all this stuff, right? So materialized views, etc. So all these things are actually being covered in our self-paced curriculums. In case somebody just want to brush up, right? So basically, you can just go through our self-paced curriculum, which is available. So this is a prerequisite. So we're not going to cover as part of a training. So I would recommend you guys to go through it and understand all these concepts before we start with, before we start with our actual curriculum, right? And basically, this is a prerequisite. You must know it. Without these things, learning Informatica becomes a difficult. Okay, so this you must understand. Okay, so then let's talk about the course what we are going to in. So Informatica PowerCenter developer course, that's what we're going to learn. But some of the admin activities as well, I'm going to cover what is part of the course. Okay, Informatica PowerCenter developer course we're going to learn. And Informatica has a lot of products again. So basically, we'll talk about it and when we go into details. But this course is predominantly, covers what is Informatica PowerCenter is all about. Okay. And then we also, the duration of the course, it goes for 30 hours. See, we have actually mixed up multiple scenarios, and most of the concepts within it, it covers both basic as well as an advanced stuff. As I said, even it covers the admin, some of the admin things as well. So the skills that we are going to learn is only Informatica. What skills we are going to gain by the end of the training is that we'll understand complete concepts about what is data warehouse and what is data mart, all these things. And we'll also talk about little bit of data modeling. I won't say that we'll go very deep and understand about the data modeling, but we'll understand about the basic data modeling and some of the tools, basically like Erwin and all those things. And Informatica PowerCenter architecture is something that which we will understand very deep, and we'll see how that can be covered, Informatica PowerCenter architecture. And then Informatica PowerCenter, all the components, Informatica PowerCenter components, basically like designer, workflow manager, and all that will be covered as part of the this training. And we'll also cover about some of the admin activities like the migration of the code from one environment to other environment. So migration of the code. And we'll also cover some of the performance tuning things, so which is a must question in most of the interviews anytime you basically do it. So this is a performance tuning is also one thing that we're going to learn as part of it. But I'll be touching a very light basic component of Unix. I'm not going in detail about it. So basically, how you're going to call Unix scripts from the Informatica. And I'm going to also show you how to call Informatica workflow from the Unix script. But we don't go in detail about understanding the each and every basic command, but we'll just see how the integration happens between the Informatica to Unix and the Unix to Informatica. That is also an important thing, but we don't, it's a high level thing that we are going to. So how Informatica to Unix works, right? And also we'll understand Unix to Informatica calling, how it works. So both the things we'll understand as part of a training. And scheduling is another one top thing that we need to understand, how the ETL jobs are scheduled and everything. So overall, our syllabus completely covers all these skills, and which is essential for applying for any Informatica PowerCenter job, you could say, right? So this is on how we cover. What are the skills that we are going to cover? So duration, as I said, it's going to be the Monday to Friday sessions, India time, and we'll cover it from the basically in 30 to 35 hours, we'll say, but 30 it could go even to 35 hours. It's basically 6 weeks of course, right? And Yeah, so basically to get started, in this today's session, I mean, Informatica PowerCenter again, right? So it has multiple versions have been released over the time period. Basically, 8.6.1 is one, Informatica 8.6.1 or 9.9.0, 9.1, and 9.5.1 is another version which we had, and 9.6.1 was there till before 2017, and in 2017 again we got 10.0. Now we have 10.2 in the market, so which is being used by some of the customers, but still most of the customers are on the 961. They have not upgraded themselves. Still the people ask for, as we are there in the market, still the people are asked for 961, but still nobody is really asking for 10.0, 10.2 and all, because eventually there are no much changes which are happened to the product, basically. So we are going to, this is a 861. 861 was there in the 2007. It's almost, you could say, yeah, 2000, not 7, 2010, around 861 was released. It's almost 8 years ago. So even if you're keeping 8 years also, knowing till 861 is much enough, 7.x and all you don't need to know, because the architecture has not changed from 8.6 to 10.2. It's the same architecture which is being followed across, but 7.x has a different architecture. So so you can just keep in from 861 basically, right? So what I'll do is, I don't want to really confuse you in the demo session itself, but I'll try to give you basically where does this ETL fits in. We need to understand what is ETL and where does this ETL basically fits in, and what are the different ETL tools, and why Informatica PowerCenter is popular than other ETL tools. That's what we're going to discuss. And when we get started with the classes, we'll go very deep in the Informatica PowerCenter, and then we'll understand all the components in the Informatica PowerCenter. But I'll just try to give you what is Informatica PowerCenter as of today, how it is working, and where it is actually applicable. There are different forms of the ETL. We'll try to understand. Okay, so before we understand about this, you must understand about what is a database, right? So database, as everybody knows that, it's basically the software which stores the data in the form of tables. That's why we call it as a RDBMS, Relational Database Management System. So all the RDBMS are like, Oracle is an RDBMS, and SQL Server is an RDBMS, Teradata is an RDBMS, Netezza is an RDBMS, and DB2 is an RDBMS. Likewise, you have even Amazon Redshift is an RDBMS. So likewise, you have a different RDBMS databases which are available. So all these databases, why do we use them? We use them to store the data. Basically, if you want to store the information about all the Amazon products and its customers and its suppliers and the list of orders, everything you want to store what is happening on Amazon.com website, right? So if you want to store everything, then basically you need to have a particular database, so that will be stored completely onto the database. It's just to store the information. We store the information in the form of a tables. Table is nothing but, which contains the rows and column, that is called as a table. So we represent the data in the form of rows and columns, basically row and then the columns, and then the row wise we represent. That's why it's a table structure. We store the data in the RDBMS, right? See, basically when we talk about an ETL actually stands for a extraction of data, right? Extraction is nothing but the reading of the data, right? Reading of the data. And T stands for a transformation of a data, right? Which is called as a transformation of data. And L stands for a loading. Loading is nothing but again inserting of a data, updating of the data. All these is called as a loading of data. So this is ETL is all about. So let's understand, why what is an ETL is basically about, and where that ETL actually fits in. So Okay, before we talk about ETL, I want you to understand about what is a transactional system and what is a data warehouse. Okay, I want to understand these two terms. Okay, what do you mean by OLTP? What is an OLTP? OLTP stands for Online Transaction Processing System. Online, basically the transaction processing system, right? Online transaction processing system, which we call it as OLTP. So what do you mean by transaction? So transaction is nothing but, in a technical term, transaction is nothing but inserting a data into a table or updating a data, deleting the data from a table is called as a transaction. Any DML operation that you perform on a table is called as a transaction. Or if you performing a group of DML operations on the table, that is also called as a transaction. So technical term, I mean, transaction means it's the DML operation that you perform. But in general, basically the transactional systems are nothing but your transactional systems are nothing but, let me give you an example. Any e-commerce application that you talk about, let's say Amazon.com or eBay.com and Alibaba, if you heard about Jack Ma's company, so Alibaba.com. So these are all the different e-commerce application. All of them I call it as a transactional systems, because every day there will be a millions of orders which gets created, right? And millions of orders, which is nothing but millions of transactions which gets created on those applications. That is nothing but a transaction. Okay, these are transactional systems. Okay, and along with it, I can even say that your internet banking application which you use for a Citibank, or let's say you go and visit a Citibank or a TD Bank, or let's say the Wells Fargo Bank, there are the people, Bank of America or anything, people will be entering your deposits and then they will be processing the checks, or the application what they use to maintain all these operations of the core banking, that is also called as a transactional system. So I call it as, let's say, core banking is also one of the transactional system. So there are again different products in the core banking. I don't want to confuse you, but there are products like a FlexiCube, Pinnacle, right? For TCS has its own product again called as a banks, and likewise there are etc. There are different core banking products itself, which different companies or different banks uses. Basically. So that is a core banking application. Any core banking application that you talk about, that is a transactional system, because we go and deposit the money, we go and withdraw the money, we go and perform a transactions through the credit card, anything, right? That is again a transactional system what we have. Another thing basically is about, let's say, your internet banking system, where we actually log in, transfer the funds, add the payees, remove the payee, registered payees, everything. So that you can call it as a transactional system. Or you could call, basically for targeting the customers for marketing purpose, we use some of the applications like a CRM applications. We call it as customer relationship management application. If you heard about Salesforce, or basically the Siebel, or if you know about the Sugar CRM or Microsoft CRM, MS CRM, or all these products are like a transactional systems again, where we basically capture the information about the customers, opportunities with the customers, orders with the customers, everything we capture. That is, you can call it as a transactional system. Or if you talk about the order management system. So if you know about Oracle apps, people might have heard about Oracle apps or Oracle EBS, or SAP. You call about SAP retail, or basically anything. Those also be termed as a transactional system. So these are all the different transactional systems which we use on a day-to-day basis. I can go and call it as ATM withdrawal application is also a transactional system, right? It's also a transactional system where we deposit the money into the ATM or withdraw the money from the ATM. Likewise, there are in our day-to-day life, we use a lot of transactional systems where it basically stores about the different transactions, but these are not used for analysis purpose. I mean, we don't analyze the data or we don't generate reports by using these transactional systems, right? So basically, these are the transactional systems which are used for a day-to-day operations, but not for analysis. Analysis means like we don't generate any reports, and or we don't go and find out, okay, what is my last year revenue, what is my last year profit, or what is my total number of orders which are created in the last week, or what is my revenue during the Christmas season. So these kind of analysis, we don't do it on a transactional system. These are used purely for a day-to-day operations. Day-to-day operations to provide services to the customers also, we use these transactional systems, right? Now, these transactional systems are in the different nature. Okay, let me just give you the sample paint diagram. So we'll understand in detail about the transactional systems when we go to the first module of the course. Okay, so I talked about the different transactional systems in an enterprise. When you talk about an enterprise, you know, let's consider a Bank of America as one of the enterprise, okay, or one of the organizations. So Bank of America may be using Salesforce for targeting their customers and to sell their products, loans, and everything. Let's say Salesforce is a CRM application which a Bank of America is using. Any new customer who get attracted by the Bank of America products and everything, they go and register, or their information will be captured in the CRM application, right? So Bank of America, let's say, for maintaining all their credit card operations, right? For maintaining the credit cards and complete information, let's say they're using an application which is built on Java, okay? And backend database is Oracle. I'm just giving you an example, you know, it could be anything. So let's say backend database is Oracle, and all the credit card transactions, or I mean, to be on a more accurate, so what I could call it as, it's a mainframe application, right? So mainframe application is a, they are using a mainframe application for maintaining all their credit card operations and everything. So you're a Bank of America customer, and I'm going and performing a transaction at Amazon.com. That gets recorded over here. What time, what did you do, authorization, everything will be recorded in the mainframe application. That is also a transactional system. Mainframe is also a transactional system, right? Similarly, let's say you have even other systems, or probably, you know, let's say for maintaining their deposits, everything, core banking. Let's say Bank of America is using their own product, or let's say FlexiCube is an application which they're using, and for maintaining your checking account and saving account, current accounts, anything. So they have, let's say, FlexiCube is an application which they use for a complete core banking. That information is being recorded here. See, what I'm trying to say here is, within any organization or an enterprise, there may be a multiple transactional systems. It is not only one transactional system which exists in an enterprise. There may be multiple transactional systems which they may be using. I'm just giving you some of these examples. You know, Bank of America, for different line of business, for a different purposes, they may use a different transactional systems, right? Now, this is where the data comes in. You know, any customer who actually interested in applying a credit card, they go and register here. Any customer who is interested in opening a checking account with the Bank of America, that gets recorded over here. So all these information which gets recorded within the OLTP transactional system. These are all my OLTPs. You know, many OLTPs could be present, but I'm just giving you only few of that. So these transactional systems are not used for analysis. We'll understand why it is not used and all those things. Okay, now basically for an enterprise, you know, in order to understand how they are doing, you know, how did I do in the last quarter, or you know, what was my revenue, what was my loss, what was my profit, or how many number of credit cards I have issued in the last month. So to understand all these kind of analysis, they basically, any enterprise, build a data warehouse. So basically, I want you to understand the term data warehouse. See, as the name indicates, right? data warehouse is nothing but where we are storing the data. That is called as a data warehouse. So basically, to store the data, as I said, we may use any database, right? So even to build a data warehouse, you can use any database. I can choose Oracle as my data warehouse, or I can choose SQL Server as my data warehouse, or I can choose Netezza as my data warehouse. Any database can act as a data warehouse. Any database. So including, if you ask me the question, okay, can I make Hadoop as my data warehouse? Yes, you could do that. You can even perform analytics on top of Hadoop. Or can I use Amazon Redshift as my data warehouse? Yes, you could do that as well. So basically, data warehouse is nothing but it's the collection of data from the different transactional systems, from different OLTPs, and storing it in a centralized place, and which is used for analysis is nothing but, as I gave you an example, finding out the revenues, the identifying the trends and everything, right? So that is your data warehouse. So understand the basic point here. Any database can act as a data warehouse. It is not that I can build data warehouse only on Oracle or only on Teradata or only on Netezza. Any database I can choose which can act as a data warehouse. So in order to, now in this example, okay, when we come back to this example, basically now Bank of America has decided to build a data warehouse for themselves to analyze the data, how they're doing in each line of a business. So basically what Bank of America does is they're going to build a centralized data warehouse, where centralized data warehouse basically for analyzing the data. So what they do is they integrate, or they move or migrate the data from all these transactional systems into a centralized data warehouse, or multiple databases it could exist. So as I said, again, choosing the data warehouse, it's up to the the enterprise, what they would like to use, Oracle or Teradata or anything. So this is my data warehouse. This is where the process of integrating the data from your transactional systems into a centralized database, that is called as a ETL. So ETL stands for a extraction. Extraction is nothing but a reading of the data from all these transactional systems, right? Reading of the data. And transformation means modifying the data. See, we don't get the data as is from these transactional systems and load it into a data warehouse. So when we are actually migrating, we modify the data, or we transform the data using this, right? So basically the transformation is basically we modify the data, we apply the different transformation rules and everything when we do that. So that is your transformation is about. Next one is about the load. Loading is nothing but how do you load the data to the table in the form of an insert, or we go and update the existing information. That is called as a load. Extraction, transformation, and load. So this is basically the process that we follow in integrating the data from a transactional systems into the data warehouse. So to do this action, or to do this process, there are a different ETL tools which are available in the market. There are many, basically direct tools are available. Among that, Informatica PowerCenter is one ETL tool which we have. Informatica PC stands for a Power Center, and you have Data Stage, and you have Ab Initio, right? And basically Informatica PowerCenter, Data Stage, Ab Initio, and then we also have a ODI, Oracle Data Integrator, right? So you have BODS, Business Objects Data Services. Likewise, there are many, many ETL tools which are available. If you talk about Talend, Pentaho, likewise, there are many ETL tools which are available. Among that, Data Stage, Informatica PowerCenter, and Ab Initio are more popular. And Talend is like an open source. and which also works with the the big data as well. So this is basically the different ETL tools which are available. So whenever any enterprise wants to build a data warehouse, or they want to build any application for analyzing the data, then they use ETL tools for migrating the data from their transactional systems or that. So once the data is loaded into the data warehouse, data will be analyzed, or data will be, the reports will be generated by using another set of tools that is called as a BI tools, or a business intelligence tools, or OLAP tools, or a reporting tools. So there is another other thing that we need to understand. What is OLAP tools, or BI tools, or reporting tools? Reporting, which are used for a basically for a reporting purpose, for analyzing the data. When I say analyzing, I can analyze the data in the form of a bar graph, or basically the pie chart and everything. So I just want to find out, last quarter to this quarter, what is the growth, or whether there is a decline of the growth or an increase of the growth. I want to analyze. That can be represented in a bar graph in a BI tool. So BI tools, what it does is, or a reporting tools, what it does is, it actually reads the data from your data warehouse and represent the data in the user understandable format. Sorry, basically it could be a bar graph, or it could be a um, it could be a pie chart, right? Or any graph could be, uh, basically it can be done. So these BI tools will read the data from our data warehouse and represent the data in the form of a reports, what we use. That is about the BI tools. So there are different BI tools, again, just like the way how we have many ETL tools, the BI tools are also there. So among that, OBIE, Cognos, right? Cognos and Tableau, right? And you have business objects, right? So likewise, there are again a different BI tools as well. There are many BI tools which are available. So in any data warehousing project, if you're working, you'll have two types of tools. One is a ETL tool for building the data warehouse. Another is a BI tool for analyzing the data on the data warehouse, or a data mart. So this is basically on the how we use OLAP tools or the BI tools. This is about the OLAP and the BI tools. So ETL tools, apart from building the data warehouses or a data marts, ETL tools are also used in the data migration projects, right? What is data migration project? Basically, I'll give you a simple example, right? Technologies gets outdated, over a time period, isn't it? So suppose, let's say, a Bank of America was using, if you talk about, let's say, 4 years before, Siebel was a top rated CRM in the world. Siebel CRM is a top rated CRM in the world before Salesforce has actually evaluated. So basically, so now the Siebel CRM is outdated, and slowly the Salesforce has actually taken out the complete market in that. So assume that, let's say, we'll talk about the same customer again. So the Bank of America, right? So Bank of America was using Siebel for their marketing segmentation and everything, and eventually the Siebel has outdated technology. Now they wanted to migrate all the data from Siebel application to the Salesforce application, right? They wanted to migrate from Siebel to the Salesforce. So now all their data was present in the Siebel, right? So all their data was present in the Siebel. Now they wanted to move their actual data, the existed data, to the different applications. See, let's say they were using Siebel from 2000, let's say the 2007, they started storing all the customer information, and then till 2014, they've used a Siebel application. Now eventually there is millions of data, or the data is completely stored, your customers information, or let's say the complete credit card information, banking account, different data is actually present in the Siebel application. Now since the Siebel is not helping them much, and they wanted to move for a maintenance purpose or a cost reduction or a saving purpose, they wanted to move from Salesforce to Siebel to Salesforce. Now I have all the data here. My legacy data is here, or let's say the mainframes. So many people are now retiring the mainframe applications as well. So let's say the mainframe application which is used by them, and now they wanted to move from mainframes to Salesforce or SAP, right? Now I have to move this data from Siebel to Salesforce. Now how would I do that? This is one system and this is another system. I don't have a direct mechanism here to move the data. So here also I could use an ETL. What I mean is I can use an Informatica PowerCenter, and your Informatica PowerCenter can read the data from Siebel and push it onto the Salesforce. So this is a data migration project. So your ETL is applicable not only in building the data warehouse, it is also applicable for moving the data from transactional, your old legacy systems into the Salesforce application. Basically, outbound, I mean, this is an inbound process, whatever you call. So this way also you can use. Now, since the big data comes into the picture, most of the most of the clients, they're actually archiving their data into Hadoop. Okay, see, their transactional system data or a data warehousing system data, they want to move. Let's say there is a mainframe application, and from the mainframe application they wanted to move the data into Hadoop system, right? Hadoop is another big data technology or whatever you call. Okay, this is a mainframe data, and I want to move the data from mainframe into Hadoop environment. So what can help us here? I can use an ETL. This ETL basically reads the data from mainframes and then load it into the Hadoop for archival or whatever the purpose could be. So ETL is applicable in a multiple different ways. ETL is more flexible also in terms of I mean, ETL tools are flexible in terms of reading the data, loading the data into anything. So these are heterogeneous in nature. It can read the data from anything and it can load the data. So when I say it can read from anything, there are certain limitations also for the ETL tools. Some of the tools may not be compatible with the the newly released technologies and all. So what I'm trying to tell you is ETL is not only used in the data warehousing project, it is also used in the data migration projects, data archival projects, or whatever. So basically this is what is more on the ETL. So we will be focusing more about the Informatica PowerCenter, and with the syllabus, whatever is actually covered as part of this, whatever the curriculum that we have here, you can just go and download it. Whatever is there in this, only those topics will be discussed as part of the training. Okay, so this is a syllabus. I'll just walk you through PowerCenter tools, basically the stored procedure, job scheduling, data warehousing, project lifecycle. To skip the, all right. So this is pretty much what we're going to cover. Whatever is there as part of this, we will understand this one, right? Yeah, I think there might be an updated syllabus as well. So whatever is given it to you by Dhiru. So the same things we are going to discuss as part of that, right? So any questions so far?
Hello?
Right. Yes, please go ahead.
Hi, Karthik. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Hassan. Thank you. How about you?
I'm good, man. Thanks. Okay. So I just wanted to ask a couple of questions to you. I actually work as an ETL QA lead here. Okay. I'm based in Toronto.
Right. So go ahead, Hassan. I think there was some. Yeah, go ahead, Hassan.
Okay.
Someone has muted you. Not sure who is that. Okay.
So whatever topics you're covering in PowerCenter, is it it's all the main topics are covered in it?
Yes, yes. Completely all the components within the Informatica PowerCenter is covered. Yes.
Okay. And because I do ETL testing as well, because I've been involved in writing queries, from layers to levels, but never used any ETL tool for doing any testing. That's why I don't know. Earlier I was using Ab initio wrappers. I was working on a project where Ab initio wrappers were run Linux to generate the files. I don't have any ETL tool experience. Okay, so I wanted to ask, and the second thing is, I wanted to do IDQ. Okay, IDQ. For doing IDQ, Informatica data quality, do we need to know PowerCenter?
Yeah, PowerCenter knowledge is a basic thing, because for data quality, again, data quality is, even though it actually used as an independent tool, understanding little bit of concepts in the Informatica PowerCenter is easy, because again, whatever the data quality transformations that you build on the data quality, if you want them to schedule, it has to be integrated again in the PowerCenter, and you have to schedule it. There is no, but yeah, understanding the components within the Informatica PowerCenter will help you to completely understand data quality as well as an Informatica MDM. But basics is essential, but yeah, it must be there, I would say.
Okay. So because I saw that IDQ uses developer as well as analyst, the two tools they use for IDQ. That's why I asked.
True,
so,
true.
but if you don't have the PowerCenter knowledge, it's going to be harder, is it? Something like?
It's not very hard, I would say, but still you can go ahead and do it. But what I would say is, in case if you're applying for a job, for a data quality job, then definitely so basically it would be easier if you understand PowerCenter and data quality both. Right?
Okay, got it. Okay, that's good. And one third question I wanted to know is I have a MacBook, okay, a Mac laptop. So is there a way we can install? I usually it's done through virtual machine or VMware, but for the can we install PowerCenter on a Mac?
Yes.
Because
no, sorry. Okay. Basically, we can't install PowerCenter client on the Mac. Okay, we cannot do that. You can install only on the Windows environment.
The reason is I can use Mac and Windows together, but parallel itself is a virtual machine. So if you install virtual machine itself, becomes very small. I tried it in the past, not Informatica, I tried some other virtual machine. So that's why I asked. There's no version of Mac, is it, for Informatica?
No. It's actually built, Informatica client tools are GUI based tools. It is built on the .NET and Java club together. Your UI is completely driven out of it. That's why these client tools works only with the Windows, but not with any command line operating system or a Mac. You can't use them. I can't even install Informatica client on the Linux and then start using it. That is not possible. So one way is that the Tek Classes team can help you with, basically, the remote desktop, where you can log into the remote desktop from your MacBook, and then you can practice it. That is one way. Or as you said, the parallel desktop option which you have in the Mac, you can install the virtual machine as well. So it's up to you.
Because I used to be an Oracle PL SQL developer.
Oh, okay.
Hello? Okay. Yeah. I used to be an Oracle PL SQL developer a lot. Okay. I used to, but I'm out of PL SQL for quite a while, but I still know that. So my question is, for Informatica, as an Informatica developer, packages and all, or
not really.
Question is,
yeah. So your voice is a little breaking, Hassan, for me. Okay. So it is not mandatory to know the SQL, PLSQL things. I mean to say, PLSQL packages and all those stuff for a Informatica developer. We don't really write extensive procedures and functions and packages as an Informatica developer, but if you understand, it may be useful for some of the projects, but not for all the projects.
What is right storage in info? Is there
Yeah, we
any
can.
or the function?
No, what I mean is we can still call the PLSQL procedures and everything from the Informatica, but we can't, I mean, we don't need to know the extensive, I mean, we don't need to have an extensive knowledge on the PLSQL.
Which is good. I'm not talking what for SQL.
SQL is mandatory thing, I would say. Yeah. Your voice is little breaking for me, you know. Hassan, your voice is breaking at times, you know. That's why I can't hear you properly.
Okay. What about now? Is it clear now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, sorry, Karthik. Okay. Now, what about SQL? Because do we need to write complex transformation logic on SQL or Informatica?
Yes, you need to understand the complex SQLs, and you should be able to write a complex SQLs as well. SQL is mandatory.
Like basically case statements, using case statement, that kind of things,
everything.
Right? Okay.
Everything.
But is there no alternative for SQL using the tools, Informatica?
Yeah, you can generate the SQL and then you can customize it. Informatica helps you to generate the SQL and you can customize that. Okay. But having knowledge of understanding the complex SQL makes your life easy as an ETL developer.
Okay, good. Okay, because I was earlier working in Amintia project. Those guys were not using much SQL. They were working on
Informatica. We use extensive SQLs. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's Karthik, my wife did a course with you like 1.5 years back, and your course was really good. ETL QA she did with you. Her name was Hazira Hassan.
Oh, she's from Canada, right?
Yeah, she's my so she did the course. Yeah, so yeah, we were together here. So she did this ETL QA course, and I saw your videos. It's really nice. And specifically, I wanted to contact Tek Classes just for you. Okay, okay. Just for I was to chat with Chandra and Mahesh earlier on this.
No, they left.
Yeah. So now that's the reason you don't take IDQ training, is it?
Hello, Karthik.
No, I don't do it.
Okay. Yeah. That's my questions, man. Karthik. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Your class was good. Yeah.
Hey, Karthik,
yes, this is Murthy.
Yes, Murthy, go ahead. Okay, I'll answer all of your questions. Okay. Yes, Murthy, go ahead, please.
No, I already put a chat message.
Yes.
Are you providing any training on Linux?
Yeah, there is actually a separate Linux training we provide. It basically covers the basic Unix commands and then the Unix shell scripting and everything. But as part of this curriculum, what I have talked about is we show you how Informatica can call the script and how shell script can invoke Informatica workflow. That level it will be covered, but we have a separate the training as well, which covers the basic Unix commands to the advanced shell scripting. Okay. And another question what you have is, are you providing any sample project for
1 minute? Are you how much time duration of that Linux that training?
I think it will be 8 hours. 8 hours.
Oh, total 8 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
I think whatever you are providing in this minimum knowledge on Linux, that is sufficient for Informatica developer.
Yeah, if you could brush up a little more, yes, that is enough.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. Karthik, a couple of questions here, Sandeep. And I hear that SQL and Unix basics are required. Apart from these two, basically you're doing data integration, right? You're going to interact with multiple OLTPs, or it may be any other system where you want to extract data. So having said that, what are the other protocols that we need, or are these the only thing? Do we need to have file-based protocol basics, MQ basics, or HTTP basics? Also, do we deal with the security layer, like setting up SSL, like FTP or SFTP? Do we need to have that knowledge for this as an Informatica developer?
It depends on a project to project, but in general, if you're directly interacting with any file-based system or an XML-based system or any the RDBMS based system, Informatica, once you define the configuration, it can actually read the data from anything and then load the data. So to extend your question about to understanding the messaging queues and HTTPs and interacting with the Salesforce or whatever, this can be handled within the Informatica itself as a security layer. You just have to configure the things and Informatica will make a call to those systems and read the data. Okay, so we don't need to really understand the complete basics about each and every application, how you actually go and hit that application, but it is just the configuration that you need to do. Now let's say there is a messaging queue system which you are using, IBM messaging queue. In Informatica, we can configure the messaging queue with the right set of credentials. Your ETL, once you build the program, it actually goes to the messaging queue and get the data for you. If you want to even write the data, you can do that, whether it is an HTTP or a messaging queue or any mainframe application or anything. It is a configuration that you need to understand, but you don't need to really understand the basics about it. Not required.
So part of your training, do you speak about this? Like,
no,
you don't speak about it.
We don't talk about messaging queues, how we are going to use a messaging queues. But that requires an additional license to drive it on a training level. We don't touch the messaging queues, but it is
so
just.
Your examples will be basically dealing with picking up files, loading it to database, or picking up data from a database and loading it to another database. Can I say that?
Both. It will show you an
example
how.
In a real-time scenario, like, is it only these two things that happen, or like we may be picking it from an MQ? So when you want to
there is
a project, there is a need for knowing MQ also, and there is a need for knowing HTTP also. Like, first of all, we need to know what the product offers and what happens in the real-time projects.
Okay, let me answer you, Alok. So what I'm saying is, it is not true for all the projects, okay, where you interacting with a messaging queue or you interact with your stock market website using a HTTP protocol or all those things. But there are 80% of the projects which runs without using messaging queue on HTTP. Okay, there are 20 or 10%, I would say 10% of the projects where you might have to interacting with a messaging queue and all those stuff, but you don't need to really know for the rest of the 90% of the projects.
Okay.
All right.
Hey Karthik, we have one question. This is Tokala, Gordon.
Yeah, go ahead, Gordon, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's not generic question, not specific to ETL, but do you think how relevant it will be in 2, 3, or 5 years, ETL, in this big data, data lakes, and NoSQL, unstructured data?
It is debatable. I can't really comment much on it, but but still the ETL has a lot of scope. Whether you're interacting with basically the big data system, or even if you're building the data lake and everything, still the ETL has a scope, but the tools that you're going to use may be a little different, but still ETL has a scope for a next 2 to 3 years, right? It is still has a scope for the next 2 to 3 years. Where if you're not using Informatica PowerCenter for a structured database, you might be using Informatica PowerCenter Big Data Edition to build the data lake. But the ETL has still the scope for the next 2 to 3 years. Whether you work with the big data systems or whether you work with the structured data systems, ETL has still the scope.
I mean, as a beginner, like suppose if we are starting today and learning the concepts of ETL, and what would you suggest, like going forward? What are the other
next steps?
Yeah.
Next steps. Let's say you are starting today and you're starting yourself as an Informatica PowerCenter developer. Then I would say you can even get onto the Informatica MDM in building the master data management systems, or if there is an opportunity that you want to really get on in building the data lakes, learning the Informatica PowerCenter big data management is another other additional thing that you can learn. So that way you can extend your learning one after the other, but learning Informatica PowerCenter big data management or a data quality or anything, basically you can right. Yeah, so both you need a PowerCenter to be start with.
Okay.
Karthik, this is not getting faded now. Informatica PowerCenter. I don't know.
I would say not completely faded, but still there are very much high opportunities which are floating in the US market at the moment. It's not completely faded, but yes, comparatively with I don't say the false statements, but comparatively when you compare with the times in 2007 and 2011 until 2016, the number of opportunities may be little less, but still there are opportunities, and still there is a life for Informatica.
Okay. I mean, if we learn tail end or some other tools, like what are they going to help them, or
see the talent and all those things are these are open source, but if you look at an enterprise projects and everything, open sources are something that which preferably the banking customers and all those customers will not use. Informatica was a leader from last 11 years in the ETL industry. There are more than big Fortune 500 customers. If you take Fortune 500 customers, more than 300 customers might be using Informatica. They can't just replace all those systems overnight with any other big data system or anything in the overnight. They don't do that. It's still there are thousands of applications which are running on using an Informatica PowerCenter. So whether it is one or the other way, you still have the the ETL tools which are being used completely. The talent cannot replace Informatica PowerCenter. Talent is just another similar tool, but it might be good if you use with a Informatica, big data systems and all, but Informatica PowerCenter is far better in terms of a GUI, user friendly. The way how you build the ETL solutions is very quick and agile in nature compared to other ETL tools. It still has its own potential to compare to talent.
Yeah. Even if they want to, like, there will be opportunity for some time for the transition from the old existing ETL to the new one, but I mean,
no, how can you really say that? There is its talent is not an alternative for Informatica.
I'm not saying overnight it's going to go away, but like a mainframe, if they try to go to some other application, it takes some time. But I mean, what I'm trying to say is ETL will have guys with the ETL, they'll have scope for some other years, but I mean, they should walk in the direction for the future, right? So that's what I'm trying to understand, like where one should head.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to even giving you the clarity as well. So maybe for another 2 or 3 years, still your Informatica PowerCenter will have a validity. But the future, what you're really looking at is not certain, and there is no direction. Okay, we cannot really say that, okay, big data is an alternative for an Informatica, or Java is an alternative for an Informatica. There is no such things have happened saying that, okay, this is a future technology for an Informatica PowerCenter and we can replace it. That has not happened. But yes, there is a downside, a little downside on the Informatica PowerCenter market, because with the evolution of big data technologies into picture.
Even for the Informatica big data, you need to know PowerCenter, right? For big data,
yes,
which is coming up.
Yes,
ETL concepts are.
Okay. No, actually, this US and Canadian market is very, very competitive, Karthik. It's truly highly fast-paced. They're asking a lot of things these days, and it's not like a market like India where you have more jobs and more opportunities. So yeah, big data BDM is it come in India? No, BDM.
Yeah, it's there in the market, and we some of the customers are using whenever they are actually building the data lakes and everything, but still not very
I don't know
high.
what is that. So you take training on that? No, you don't take training on BDM, right?
No, we don't take training on BDM. Okay. We don't have a course on BDM with us. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Hey, Karthik.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, Ravani, go ahead, please.
So in between the classes, so do you provide any assignments and check with that?
For each and every class, at the end of each and every class, right? So we will have separate assignments which will be followed. I'll be demonstrating some of the examples, and you have to practice the same examples, and along with it there will be another additional assignments as well which will be provided to you.
So will you check that one? I mean, how can we know that we are correct? I mean, the assignments we have done are correct or not?
So basically there is a scenario, and you have a complete steps. We have an Informatica hands-on lab guide that will direct you to complete the hands-on lab. Whenever you face any problems, there is a questionnaire session. See, let's say 8 to 9 is the class timing what we have, and we basically take each and every individual questions from 9 to 9:15 or 15 minutes. We'll spend and understand what errors they're facing, how they have to resolve those errors, and there will be a guidance which will be provided. And it is also, since all our work will be saved in the centralized server, I can even log into your with your credentials to your own the folder and everything. I can check what error has been there and everything. So we will this is like a regular thing that we follow up with students. For every 15 minutes there will be a questionnaire session every day to understand how you are progressing with your assignments and everything.
Okay, I got you.
And the assignments are on daily basis?
Yes, it's on a daily basis.
So you
it's
need
a daily
to do it
basis.
before that. Okay.
It's good if you follow me, because once you are done with the course, again, if you have a questions, probably I have to spend an additional hours and then have to log in one-on-one with you. But it is good that if you follow me along with the course, if there is something we can quickly resolve, and it also gives you a good time, to get started with your marketing. For your job search purpose.
Okay.
Karthik, one more question.
Sorry.
Yes, hello. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so do you also help us to install the trial version or any version of software for Informatica, and probably install Oracle and then interact with both of them and do an exercise end to end? It will be a good idea to even start with installation.
We do that. We help you with the installation. Our admin team is there. They'll help you with the installation, and they will help you how to move the data from Oracle to, as part of the curriculum, we understand how to move the data from Oracle to Oracle, XML to Oracle, flat files to Oracle, flat file to flat file.
I'm talking about installations, like installing Oracle and okay.
We do that installation, and we'll install Oracle. On top of it, we'll install Informatica PowerCenter. Yes.
Okay, and apart from SQL as a transformation logic, do we also need to have some basics of Java, or do we use
not required? Not required.
Okay.
Yeah.
Karthik, did you know any other ETL? Have you worked on any other ETL to other Informatica?
I worked with Data Stage. I worked with little on ODI, and BODS I worked.
Okay. Which one do you think is easier? I'm just asking you.
No, GUI and everything. If you see, the Informatica PowerCenter is rich and simple in building the programs, but comparatively, there will be a disadvantage from one ETL to other ETL. Some will be having, according to the scenario, some will be having a advantage, and some other may not. Likewise.
I can't talk because I don't know about ETL tools, but the project which I was working on Ab initio, Ab initio developers used to tell that Informatica is more easier. I don't know. That's why
Ab initio is you need to write a lot of Unix scripts. Unix scripts to get the things done, but Informatica, it is more like a user friendly, I would say. That's why people like it. You don't need to have a lot of programming in this.
Okay, that's good. That's good, man. Thanks.
Right. Any other questions from anyone, please, before we wind up?
Karthik, I just want to talk to you for a minute after the class. Is it possible?
Oh, you can just ping me. I'll call you. I have another call to get in. I'll talk to you later.
Give me my number then. Okay. Can I provide
you
sure. Call? Okay.
Sure.
Just not take more than 2 minutes. Yeah.
All right. Thanks. You can talk to Dhiro. The Dhiro can help you with my number. Okay. All right.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Karthik.
Yes, Murthy. Yeah.
Can you answer my second part of the question? Are you providing any sample for anything, practice purpose or anything?
Yeah, so the sample case study is actually a part of curriculum, and by implementing that complete case study from end to end, It helps you to understand the complete project life cycle in a general ETL. So when you talk about the complex logic, which is an usual question which you come across in any interviews. Probably I can help you with a complex thing, but implementing with the environment what we have may not be enough for us to implement that complex logic. But in one of the session, I'll probably give you the heads up about what complex logic you probably have to explain within the interviews. But in terms of a project, yes, the sample project will be implemented as part of the project, curriculum.
Okay, thank you.
With your training, doing your training properly and doing the assignments is more than sufficient to go and handle in a job as a first as a developer.
Yes, it would be. There are people who have directly went into the project. It's about how you're spending yourself, in completing the hands-on labs, and apart from it, what is your extra learning that you're doing, and that would be sufficient enough to start with the project. Yes, but maybe here and there some processes you might need to understand in a project.
Sure. Okay, Karthik, I've given the number to you. Okay, when you get a chance, you can give me a call, please. Thank you.
Sure. Yes, please go ahead, Thiru.
Yeah, I have a question. Actually, we are moving PVDS to Informatica. PVDS doesn't have a ability to restart the job at the failure point, and for that we built a custom framework, and we are moving Informatica now. Is Informatica going to handle if the job is failed? Can we start from that point?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a recovery mechanism which we generally follow. Okay. You can build that from the point. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Then. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no questions for us.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
All right.
Karthik, apart from your classes, is there any self-reading that you suggest? Like if it is an IBM product, I'd go to Developer Works or the IBM InfoCenter. Similar to that, for Informatica, is there anything that you suggest, or I just go to the IBM Informatica's homepage and look for the data?
You mean additional material, right? That's what you're trying to say.
Not material. Like let's say I work on IBM Technology, so I go to IBM InfoCenter, which is a Bible or the direct documentation from IBM, and the Developer Works is like a kind of blogs for IBM related products. Similar to that, Informatica, what are the self-reading resources that you suggest? And also, are there forums that we usually put questions, learn something which is already discussed or something?
Yeah, there are many, in fact.
Yeah, we may not know, right? Instead of just Googling, if you can suggest us those links in a single page or email, it will be helpful to us.
Yeah, definitely we'll work on that. Yeah, we'll help you with it. No problem. All right, so that's pretty much what I have for now. So you can just share your feedback with Dhiru, and then we'll get started with the regular classes.
When is the first class? Okay.
I think mostly from tomorrow itself, I guess. If not, you can just check with Dhiru. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And Karthik, one last question. Is it only the weekday classes that you provide, or do you have any fast track or weekend batches?
No, we don't have weekend batches at the moment. It is only from Monday to Friday. That's what we do on Indian time. Right.
Thank you, Karthik. Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.